Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming back to the nuttiness that is Liz and Nikki on Mind What Matters, where we try our darndest to mind all things caregiving and everything that matters. Hi, friend. How are you?
Hi. Well, I'm better than you for a change.
You guys, I have so much going on in my life. I have a puppy.
Yes, you do. Well, you do. You have a. Is it a puppy? Can we call it a puppy? Is it
We
a
can't
small
call it.
bear? Small bear.
Let's talk about the little story because you were involved. You were a part
Complicit.
of it. You were
Complicit.
complicit in this situation, which I will say is a testament to how much I love you, that that I was not angry at you at all. So my husband's been wanting to get a puppy for a really long time, and I love animals and I love dogs, and I grew up on a farm, like taking care of animals, like love them. And also our lives are not in a place for a puppy, and they have not been for a very long time. And as a person who's been caregiving for a really, really, really long time, I'm tired. And the last thing I wanted was something else to have to take care of, to be quite honest. And so I put all of these parameters around my husband's dream of getting a second dog slash puppy.
Slash bear.
One of them well, I said, you have to adopt. And I knew, knowing what kind of dogs he was wanting, that would be very hard to do in LA because there's a lot of Chihuahuas. I knew he wasn't going to get one of those. And so I was like, he's never going to find this puppy. Well, he expanded his search to Nashville, Tennessee, where my bestie lives.
Who knew Ryan should be a
And
private eye?
when he wants something, he's going to figure it out. And he found these adorable little puppies, furry, but it was hard to tell what they were. And I had told him 2 of the dogs he's not allowed to get because I don't want giant hair bears in my house were a Great Pyrenees and a Newfoundland. I was like, you're not allowed to get these dogs. So then the dog gets to LA, finally. The dog gets to LA. And we adopt this puppy. We've signed on the dotted line. I've been kept out of the majority of the process, and we're about to learn why. I walk into Wags and Walks. Shout out to Wags and Walks. They did an incredible job.
They are
like,
great.
please,
They're really great.
if you're going to adopt, look into Wags and Walks. And I walk in and I see this is not a puppy. This is a toddler, essentially, on all fours. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And they're like, well, we think it might be half Newfoundland, half Great Pyrenees.
And
Yeah.
you sent me, of all people, to check this puppy out while there were like 2 other sisters or siblings
Huge mistake.
available.
Huge mistake.
The person
Huge
who you
mistake.
make fun of regularly for her 3 dogs. Every podcast, guys, I get another dog. I mean, I actually have 3, but I think the last podcast where we talked about my animals, you said I had 7. So
It feels like 7
to go and check out these pups. I took one of my kids, you guys, and it was a close call. I nearly came home with one of the dog's siblings and nearly lost my husband over it. All right, stop talking, DeLoach. We have a good guest.
Okay, not just a good guest. I am obsessed. I am obsessed with this person and have not stopped smiling. Thank God for our next guest, because I have not slept for months, and my favorite thing to do, one of my favorite things to do, is sleep, and I've not gotten to do my favorite thing, and I'm very grumpy about it. But the second that I woke, knowing that we were going to be interviewing this amazing human, I've had this giant grin on my face all morning long. So tell our audience about him.
I've had a giant grin on my face since I found him. And we can thank our good friend Julie McFadden for that.
That's right.
I actually saw her. Yeah. And for those of you that don't remember our conversation with Julie, please go back and listen. Hospice is one of those things with Alzheimer's and dementia that doesn't get called in till like the last hour, and it's often too late. And families have often been searching for answers and suffering by themselves through the end, not realizing
and the person carrying the illness is suffering as well, because Yeah,
But
everyone's suffering.
Julie is so incredible, so y'all go check her out, Hospice Nurse Julie. She talks about death and dying in a way that you're not afraid of it, and this is just a special shout out to her because she led me to this wonderful man.
That's right.
Today's guest is Erik Ireland. I'm gonna have to pause on his name. You guys,
Isn't it
like,
perfect?
legend. I mean, honestly, legend. He is a certified mindfulness teacher, storyteller, author, and creator of the highly acclaimed Listen to Sleep podcast, which has reached millions of listeners worldwide. If you've ever heard it, you know why. Known for blending ancient wisdom with modern mindfulness practices, Erik helps people discover greater peace, purpose, and authenticity through the power of storytelling and self reflection. He is the author of Awaken Your Myth: Six
Mm.
Steps to Discover a Life of Peace and Purpose, a transformative guide that uses the timeless framework of the hero's journey to help readers uncover their unique path in life. Through his writing, teaching, and coaching, Erik encourages people to embrace their challenges, reconnect with their true nature, and become the conscious authors of their own stories. Living in the mountains of Northern California, Erik continues to inspire a global audience with his gentle, compassionate approach to personal growth and mindfulness. Welcome,
Oof.
Erik.
Thank you. It's really nice to be here.
It is wonderful to have you. I Obviously, the minute that I saw you, I was like, this is who caregivers need. This is what our audience is sincerely lacking in. And finding a way to frame your story of caregiving, which often for our audience is 10 to 15 years of providing care and slowly losing your identity through that process. It's very hard to find meaning in that experience. And I think what
And
you have,
mindfulness.
and mindfulness especially. And so I think that your background is just so beautiful. You're not like most people wouldn't be like, oh, Erik Ireland, a sleep podcast, whatever, a book on mindfulness. How does this have anything to do with caregiving? But in
Mhm.
my mind, it has everything to do
Everything.
with caregiving. We're just so excited you're here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's lovely to meet you both.
Well, I always like kicking things off with just asking people how they're doing. And of course, I want to get into your book and I want to get into all the theories you have about all the things. But first, I just like to hear a little bit about you, how you got into this, how you found yourself interested in mindfulness and helping others find purpose, and really understanding their stories. Where did this all begin?
Sure. Yeah. I think it really began for me the first time I realized that my identity was something I was creating. When I was about 13 or 14 and moving from junior high school to high school, I was a very awkward kid who was scared of lots of things. It was the 70s. I was, like a 13-year-old gay kid who didn't really know what it meant to be gay. Nobody really talked about it back then. There was
Hmm.
a lot of shame and just hiding. And I was just so uncomfortable in my own skin. And we moved from one town in Rhode Island to another town about an hour away, which back in 1980 was might as well have been another planet. There was no way, nobody knew me in this new place. And I thought, well, I'm just going to be somebody different. I'm going to do what the cool kids do and just be a cool kid. And that sent me on a journey of really getting so lost that
Hmm.
I had no idea who I was by the time I graduated high school. And along the way, I had lived out some of my dreams. I was not just one of the cool kids, I was the youngest DJ at a top 30 rock station in America. I was like, this is something I had wanted to do since I was a very little kid. I was completely acting like I was straight and like everything in my life was great and just isn't this awesome. And then I just kind of fell apart. And and I went to one of those 80s workshops where you sort of find yourself, and it was really all about personal responsibility. And like, your other people don't make you feel what you feel. Your feelings are yours, and you can choose how you respond. And I was like, okay, that started to change everything. But then I was just really lost with a sense of that, okay, I'm the one who has to find my way out of this. And so I went through spirituality, religion, all these paths to try and find out who I was. And none of them worked for me. They didn't give me the answers I was looking for. And I just kept looking until I stopped. And through my 30s and 40s, I was kind of a nihilist and a hedonist. Maybe I thought, if I can have fun and not hurt people, I'm good. And then I again lived out my greatest goals. And I had always wanted to live in a cabin in the mountains, and this life just seemed like it would be me. It'd be mine. It would be how I would know myself. I got here and I started having panic attacks. And I was like, all right, this is really I gotta figure this out. And that was when the whole inner and outer journeys started to come together. And I became a mindfulness teacher. I started the sleep podcast, started doing something for other people. And this hero's journey I had been on to find myself in the outer world became a journey into my inner world. And the two met, and I saw that they were never different. And that was really where the peace came. In the end of any reliance on identity or a sense of needing to be any one thing, and a real acceptance of what I am and what is.
Yeah. I think that there's an important moment, Erik, and I I've had a very similar journey of identity. I'm not queer, but I, went into the entertainment business at a very young age, came out of, experiencing abuse as a child, and constantly was trying to outrun my body,
Hmm.
feeling like my body was just not a safe place to be.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I went into my 40s that I finally was able, you said the inside and the outside, for them to meet and to realize that they're actually the same person. And I think what I realized was like all the parts of me that I had created in order to adapt or in order to survive or in order to, stay alive, essentially.
Yeah.
That was all parts of me too, and those parts of me got me through really, really hard times, but I didn't need them anymore. And what I actually needed was to accept and embrace all those parts of me and love those parts of me, but to say, hey, perfectionism, you know, I don't really need you anymore. Because if we're not perfect, it's okay. And if we fall apart and we're messy, it's also okay. You're still loved and you are who you are. Um, what do you say to, I mean, number one, I've thought, like, could this have happened? Man, I would have wished that this would have happened in my 30s, but I don't know that it can. And in Hero's Journey, which you
Yeah.
talk about a lot, how do you tell someone who is your age, right? I'm thinking about you realizing at such a young age, I'm just going to become one of the cool kids and I'm going to do this. How do you guide, like, how do we guide our children, or what do we say to them during that time when they're on their own hero's journey, right? Where they do feel lost and they don't know who they are. What do we say to them during those times to help them understand that one day, right? You will rest inside the pocket of who you are as long as you are mindful of that. Because not everybody is. I mean, I meet people in their 80s that
Hmm.
still don't know who they are, right? Like, how do
Yeah.
how do we guide our kids towards where you ended up?
This is a great question. Um, I I think there's two parts to it. We can only support people in being who they are. And I think a lot of times,
Yeah.
especially, I mean, I'm not a parent, so, I don't know really what it's like to have kids. But I had parents. I have one parent still, and I love my mother, and she's one of my best friends, and we are closer now than we've ever been.
Mm.
But at the time when when I was going through all this stuff, she didn't know how to encourage me to really be who I was. She could encourage me to be like good at school, which I was. So she's like, okay, he does this already. He likes this. I'll encourage that. But we didn't have any way to talk about things like that I was gay, or that there was all this other stuff going on in my life. There was no forum for that kind of honesty. And
Mm.
I think that with any relationship, children probably especially, that a complete acceptance and allowing any conversation is a great place to start.
Mhm.
And then we've really got to like foster mindfulness in ourselves, in the relationship, and in the people we care about, right? So what is mindfulness? It can seem like overwhelming, like, oh my God, you mean I have to sit there and meditate every day? I hate meditating. When I meditate, my mind goes crazy and I just hear all these thoughts, and it's just not for me. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I would have said that for years. I'm like, no, 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 no. No meditation. Forget it. I'm done. Mindfulness isn't that. Mindfulness isn't meditation. Mindfulness is gentleness, curiosity, and compassion for ourselves and others.
Mhm.
Those three things together will always bring us to this moment. If we are being gentle with ourselves and each other, if we are being compassionate, feeling that felt sense of we are all in this together. I love your t-shirts, all of us. It's like, or what,
Oh, one for alls, one for
one
alls, I
for
bet.
all. That's it. One for all.
Yeah.
That to me is compassion. It's a felt sense, like gratitude. Gratitude isn't like, oh, I'm really happy that I got that because I want more and I'm manifesting it. Gratitude is a felt sense. You can feel it in your
Mhm.
body. Compassion is that same thing. And it connects us to who and what we are, right? And then curiosity. Then we can be here in this moment together, exploring it openly with uh, that childlike sense of finding out what is true. So I would say
So
that's
beautiful.
that's the way to get to deeper relationships, to support anyone, is to be mindful around them, and to help them be more mindful if they are suffering.
So I'm going to ask you kind of a hard question. And I think it's hard for two reasons. I think because you have so much wisdom around this entire theory of mindfulness and the hero's journey, and how, we're all in some way, shape, or form walking, just like we see in the movies, guys. Like, if you haven't read his book yet, I highly
Mhm.
suggest you go out and get it. But, Eric basically suggests that just like you watch action movies or you watch dramas on TV, there's always like this hero, right? And there's this journey that they go through. And his theory is that we're all in some way, shape, or form walking that every day.
Yeah.
And no more so, there's nothing more heroic than the caregiver's journey. Because you're really sacrificing so much of yourself for such a long period of time, in pursuit of the love and the protection of another. And in my opinion, there's no greater act of love. At the end of the day, people try and make it very complicated. Caregiving is not. If you love your person and you want to see them thrive despite whatever they're dealing with, you just love them through it. And that's caregiving, whether it's your child or your parent or your spouse or even a friend.
Or
Um,
yourself, or
or
even
yourself,
yourself, like,
especially yourself.
Mhm.
it's
But but I think the real question is, and this is what I want you to address. You're right. When we get to our 40s, this big thing happens where all of our coping mechanisms just start to fail one by one. Slowly it's not over the course of a week or a day,
Mhm.
or a month or even a year, but slowly over the course of several years, you slowly start to lose this facade that you were able to hold in place that sort of made up your identity, right? It made up who you were. You could walk into a party or a dinner, with this mask over your face, if you will, like you're one person. And what our 40s do and what caregiving does specifically is it just rips it down. It makes it
That's
impossible to
right.
keep being that person because you're just so tired. You're tired
Right.
of pretending, and you're also incapable of pretending, especially after 3 to 5 years of caregiving for someone that you love and watching them disappear slowly.
Mhm.
So, what do you tell people who are in that space right now? Because there's so much cortisol pumping through every day.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's a good day or a bad day, you're always waiting for the shoe to drop. Even if it's a good day and you're out with your loved one and things are going well and nothing weird has happened in public
Well,
or
and also your parasympathetic nervous system is just shot.
it's shot. And
Right.
and every day you're in this state of I just found something I had written back in 2019, where I was clearly like very in it with my mom, and I didn't sound manic, but I sounded desperate almost. I sounded desperate. And I think finding mindfulness and finding healing in that space, I do think it's possible with the right support and the right help, but I think it's a big challenge for people. And how would you direct someone, especially if they're listening now, and they're year in 5 or 7 with dementia, or they're in year 3 with ALS or Parkinson's or another major disease? What do you tell that person? Kind of how do you even start in that
Sure.
when you're in that place? And I know it's a tough question because it's almost
Yeah.
like saying, how do you find happiness, inside a terminal disease? It's not an easy question to answer.
It's not, but it is there. Happiness is there. Peace is there. And is there an easy way? Is there is there 6 steps to that? I laugh. The title of my book has 6 steps in it. Which is mostly because that's like what publishers like, and it does go through that sort of a progression, but life isn't 6 steps. Life isn't like that. Life isn't easy. And I think there's at least 2 parts to what you're asking. One of them is that for a lot of us, that caregiver time comes in midlife, where our parents or we're the person who can do that now. And so it's like, okay, I got to step up. We don't want it. We don't ask for it. It feels like it's easy to go to get lost in our mind and think that this could or should be some other way. So to realize that this is the journey, that the separate suffering sense of self that we had growing up, to learn to build our own ego up, to learn who we are, to have that thing to fall apart, naturally does fall apart for humans
Mhm.
in midlife. And when
If
we
you're
try to
lucky.
hold on to it, yeah,
If
that's
you're
right.
lucky.
If you're lucky,
If you're
because when you
lucky.
try to hold on to it, it is so much more painful. If you
Yes,
want to try to be a 40-year-old who is a 20-year-old, whew, that hurts. And that
It
if you
hurts.
can't let go of that, if you cannot say, this is different, if you can't be curious about how it's different, if you can't be compassionate with yourself as you're going through the pain of losing your identity, it
Mm.
it doubles the suffering. because the pain is going to be there. But if you're fighting it, if you're fighting the pain, if you're fighting for your old identity, if you're unwilling to be with what's here, that's where the suffering is. So that's part one, is going, okay, this happens to everyone. We all lose our attachment to our identity. We don't lose our identity. I'm still Erik. I'm still, everything that happened to me is still up here in my head, but I am not attached to any of it anymore. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have to be Erik doesn't have to be a certain way. I, in my own life right now, am going through a big transformation. Where I'm just sitting with the unknown, and things are not comfortable for me right now. Life is challenging in a way that, like, I'm like, oh my God, really again? I'm in my 60s now. and there was always this sense in the back of my mind that, like, somehow life would get to a point where, like, and you said, oh, you have all this wisdom. Honestly, wisdom is really, for me, about knowing what I don't know and being in that space of not knowing, with some sense of letting that be. Not like a total acceptance and, oh, it's all okay. And none of that. It's like, this
No,
sucks.
that's toxic positivity.
That's right. That's right. Toxic positivity. It's not helpful for anyone. It's going, this sucks, and that's okay. And
it's so true.
If you can't do that, if you just want to manifest happiness and, like, make it good, go for it. Like, lots of people have written those books.
Doesn't work.
And it doesn't work. I've never seen it work for anybody.
It's not only that it doesn't work. Yeah, it's not just that it doesn't work. It doesn't bring you closer to you.
That's
which
right.
is the point.
Right.
Which is the point of, like, I think the reason I love the hero's journey so much is because, it's like Joseph Campbell's framework for that and all of that. But I think the reason I love it so much is because the point is to become your most authentic self, who you were brought into this world to be. And you can't get there without being deeply uncomfortable a lot of the time and sitting with the unknown, which is two things that humans fight, escape, push back, and do a whole cacophony of things in order to avoid. I mean, I teach my kids at a very young age, I teach them the moment that you can be comfortable being uncomfortable, that is going to help you so much in life, because you're going to spend most of your life being uncomfortable if you're lucky, because that means you're growing, you're curious, you are resting inside feelings that don't feel great, but God gave us all these feelings for a reason. Why are we trying to avoid shame? Why are we trying to avoid rage? Why are we trying to avoid jealousy instead of going, gosh, I feel a lot of shame right now. Why am I feeling shame? Oh, because I did this thing and I'm not proud of the way that I behaved. Okay, well, why did I act that way? Why did that happen? Why did I do that? And getting to know yourself so that you're like, it's not just about love. It's really about accepting who you are, not in a place where you're not willing to change it, but in a place where you can start from there. You can't go from non-acceptance. You have to begin at acceptance. Okay, I have this part of me. I'm not truly in love with it yet, but let's figure out where it came from so I can figure out how to love me in that place. I want to, you started Listen to Sleep in 2019.
Yeah.
So what was happening in your life at that point in time where you thought, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to tell people bedtime stories? I mean, truly, like,
two
what
things.
was, yeah. Okay, great.
two things were happening. I had been a professional voice actor for 10 years. And
by the way, I would listen to your voice forever. I do.
thank you. Thank you.
Continue.
Yeah. So that, that was sort of the extension of going to college to become an actor and like wanting to be a radio DJ since I was like, 5 years old. And so I finally in I think it was 2011, became a professional voice actor and did that for 8 years. And that was beginning to go away. I sort of saw the writing on the wall in 2019 of where AI was coming in, and just the whole, it wasn't also really what I loved anymore at that point. I'm like, oh my God, am I going to really do another, TV commercial for, it wasn't, it kind of ran its course. It wasn't fulfilling. Yeah. It was just like, it was fun, for the first few years to hear myself, I'd, be out somewhere and see a TV commercial come on and be like, oh, that's me. But that once I got over that kind of that ego hit, I was like, this really isn't what I want to be doing. So, and I wanted to do something that was more meaningful, more creative, put like more good out into the world, because I was feeling kind of lost myself. And I felt like that would be a good first step. And it was to kind of take your mind off of your own problems and how can I contribute here? What can I put out there that's going to help other people? And so that was how that started. And, now I'm on episode, oh gosh, I'm putting it together today. I think it's like episode 470 or something like that.
Congratulations.
Thinking,
Nikki's already listened to 469 since I told you.
And well, now I'm starting to think, okay, well, what's next? This can't go on forever. I won't be doing this, probably, for a whole lot longer. And that's a part of sitting with that unknown now, where is my work going? Where is life going?
I know where it's going.
Okay with that.
I think we're going to have a third co-host to the Mind What Matters podcast.
So, Erik, just so you know,
the idea of doing a different kind of podcast,
we could use the male influence. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
This is really, we just invited you on the podcast to pitch us
publicly pitching. There we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, your people call my people. We'll do lunch.
Yeah, exactly. This is really just a lure to get you to come and join us.
I mean, she's not wrong. I hate cats out of the bag, guys. Welcome to Mind What Matters with Liz, Erik, and Nikki. No, I'm just
But
kidding.
You know what? You said something, Erik, that I tell people all the time, and I have been for years. I say to people all the time, when you're sad, go find a place to give back. When you're happy, go find a place to be of service. When you're mad, go be of service. When you're whatever it is that you are carrying at any given point in your life, the best antidote for that is being of service in some way, shape, or form, whether it's like, with you building this podcast, or for me, it was getting involved with Children's Hospital Los Angeles and the work of dementia and Alzheimer's, Mind What Matters. But even if it's not on in a big scale, checking in on your friends, starting something in your community, joining something in your community, being a part of making somebody's day just a little bit better and a little bit brighter. And you will see day by day by day by day just how much life it breathes into you, and it softens all the crunchy places, all the places that might have gotten hard over the years, or even the places where you are feeling the most heartache.
That's right.
So I love that was like the impetus for you to want to do this, is to give back and serve and be and have purpose inside of it. I think all the best things start that way.
And that is compassion. That is, we're all in this together. That is seeing that, what I do for someone else, I do for myself and vice versa. And this is to me the really most important part of my work now in helping people see that their story isn't a problem to solve. They're
Mhm.
not like a problem to fix. That this isn't about self-help. This is about self-acceptance, self-realization,
Discovery too.
self-knowledge. Yeah, discovering who and what you are. Because when you have that flame of authenticity now that you're like, okay, I see enough of who I am that I can bring that to an interaction with someone else. Now I've got like a candle that I can hand towards you to help you light your own flame of authenticity, because I can be there curiously, compassionately, and gently with someone else, because I can be there in that way with myself. And so many of us
Yeah.
are so hard on ourselves, we can't even begin to be with anyone else because we're just always stuck thinking about ourselves. Not because we're self centered, because we never knew there was an alternative. We never knew
Ooh.
that we could move through the world not having to think about who and what we are and who and what we're doing and how we're being perceived in every moment.
And it's not perfect, right? And it's not linear.
No.
It's not like one day you
No,
just wake up and you go, "Oh, there's my
no.
shadow, you naughty girl. I see you
Yeah,
now and,
no.
I'm not going to let that out anymore." Like, no. And I love the part that you talk about in your book about the shadow, but I think for most people, particularly when they're in chronic distress and chronic pain and chronic
Despair.
grief,
Hmm.
grief is one of those things that, um, I talk about it in my book. I think I say something like, it's like getting a roundhouse kick to the face when you're getting a Swedish massage. I mean, it never announces itself and just comes in and says, "Oh, by the way, in about 3 minutes, I'm gonna take you down to your knees, so you just better get ready." It's not like
That's
that,
right.
You could just be doing something so trivial and meaningless and just get hit with this immeasurable pain that your
Right.
body doesn't really know how to hold, and it comes out in
Mhm.
all these, like, terrible ways, and so even when you're mindful, and even when you've practiced all of these things, you're still gonna have those moments where you question yourself and you question your reaction to something. I mean, I literally just did it last night myself. I had a moment with my daughter that it was just a very powerful parenting moment. We'll leave it at that. And without going into too much detail about my personal life, um, not about this subject anyway. Most of it's all the way out there for you guys, but not about this. But let's just say I had a moment that was so profound that I almost couldn't move through the moment. There was part of me that like knew what I should do next, but I couldn't do it. It's like I just stood there and let the emotions sort of run through me head to toe. And for me in that moment, that was the mindfulness, right? Of like
That is
almost
mindfulness.
absorbing it and saying, this is too powerful for me right now. But instead of the me from 10 years ago, endlessly judging myself for that moment of maybe not swooping in and like managing it just perfectly, just in the inside that moment and taking over and saying the right thing or doing the right thing. I didn't judge myself. I got on ChatGPT and I said, why would I have done this? Why would I have just have stood there? And it was so profound, its answer. ChatGPT occasionally can, like, really hit it out of the park. But it said, "Why are you surprised? It's okay when you've had, like, bouts and bouts and bouts of, like, traumatic moments in your life that maybe perhaps it was your body's way of saying, 'Oh, I've been here before. I've been in these overwhelming moments lots, and
Yeah.
I'm just gonna protect myself for a hot minute. I'm gonna step back. I'm going to see what's happening. I'm going to take inventory and then I'm
Hmm.
going to proceed. And in fact, I did. I grabbed my daughter, maybe it was 15 minutes later at the dinner table, and I just whispered something to her, and it was the right thing. It was what
I
I
call
probably,
it practicing the pause.
Yes. But
Sure.
it's so funny that after 10 years of all this growth and healing and mindfulness and all the things, I still would have judged myself in the moment. Like I should have done this, I should have done that. But I think
Right.
we're all learning. We're all continuously learning and we're all continuously growing. It's just, it doesn't, like you said, you're 60 and you're having a what now moment or whatever it is you're struggling with. But I think
Yeah.
that's lifelong. And it's part of the
Absolutely.
beauty
It's
of
not
it,
a
of
problem
just
to
loving.
solve. It's not a problem to
Right.
solve. And one thing I would also, just offer in those moments, I have given up asking why.
Why?
Because
Yeah.
why always goes to that sense
The
of
head.
self. Yeah, and it says, and it wants to make meaning and tell you who you are. Like, I'm going to use my thoughts to rearrange my ideas about myself. Instead, what I've found to be way more healing in the sense of integrative healing, not in a way of getting rid of anything or of fixing something that's broken, but in a way of
Mhm,
truly integrating what's present, is to just say,
mhm.
what is this? What is this
Oh,
right now, this
mhm.
moment, this whatever it is? Maybe it's for me when I'm angry, it feels like a flame that starts in my groin and goes up through my chest, through the top of my head. And rather than like I used to ask myself, well, why am I angry? And that was the beginning of like all the shoulds and shouldn'ts and judgments and all this, well, if you didn't do this, or maybe that it's okay because that, and you just get into this whole explanation of, well, what if I just go, what is this?
Mm,
This is anger right here,
mhm.
right now. I feel it. And what I frequently find is then the next thing comes. The sadness or whatever is mixed in with the anger. And and it just keeps revealing itself through that curiosity of not why, but what? Like, what
What?
is this? What is this? And eventually, what or who or whatever other question than why you want to ask, even where is this? Opens up
Mm,
this childlike curiosity that reveals the peace that's at the bottom of all of it.
mm.
And
I love that.
that's what lets you come back again the next time and go, okay. You mentioned Jesus earlier, Nikki, the peace that passeth all understanding. It's not the peace you're
Mhm.
going to find through why. Why wants to understand. This is the peace you're going to find through what. What is here? Heaven on earth.
Mm.
Okay. That
Heaven
you
on earth.
cannot understand that with the mind. You have to come to experience. You have to be here with it, or it's useless. It's just some dogma you're preaching from a pulpit. It's not changing your life or anyone else's. But when you can be there with it, it is.
Nikki's
Oh, yeah.
crying.
Listen, well, what this also made me think about was, I just keep going back to safety,
Yeah.
and I think what your podcast does is it makes people feel a sense of safety.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm sure people tell you that all the time, that you allow them to feel safe enough to let their brain rest. So I
Mhm.
Yeah.
guess my question to you, I know why it's so hard for me to sleep. It has been because one of the instances for me as a child of sexual abuse, I was sleeping when it happened to me.
Right.
And I haven't been able to sleep since, like fall asleep. It's just so hard. So I really have to do a lot of things to get that brain to feel safe, to get the brain to rest, to get the brain, I have to avoid a lot of things.
Right.
What do you think we are all actually protecting ourselves from when we can't sleep?
Mm.
Hmm.
That's a great question.
I do think that one of the most important aspects of falling asleep is the permission to fall asleep. giving ourselves the permission to fall asleep, because so much of the
Mm.
thoughts that keep us awake, or the thoughts that sort of that connect to the nervous system to kind of rev the whole thing up, like whoa, 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 whoa. You wake up in the middle of the night, you think of that one thing, and then your endorphins start to kick in, and you're like, oh, now there's all this cortisol running through my system, and I can't stop thinking. Because when we can just take a deep breath and give ourselves the permission to sleep, you
Mhm.
deserve to sleep. You can sleep. You deserve rest. It's natural for you to rest. Safety is another thing, like it's no good to just to tell yourself you're safe if you're not. So I never tell people to just, you're safe. I don't know if people are safe. I don't ever tell people you're safe, because they may not be, and they need to change
Yeah.
that situation if they're not. But I do give them permission to rest. And I think that
Mm.
that, it's a horrible situation when those, those memories and those traumatic events come together to create a pattern that lives on through this, this nervous system thought connection, right?
Mhm.
And presence, mindfulness, is really the way to see the whole thing for what it is. To go, okay, this is the body having this experience. I feel all keyed up right now. This is the mind thinking these thoughts that it's not safe. But neither of these things are actually me. Who am I? We can start to ask that question very gently, very compassionately, very curiously, and be okay with not getting an answer that comes from the same place the question does. Because it starts with a concept, right? Of like, who am I? But the
Wait,
answer,
can you say that again? The part of the answer coming from the same place say
yeah,
more about that.
yeah.
Different place, right?
Yeah.
Uh, there, the answer doesn't feel like an answer the way the question feels like a question. Let's put it that way. A question's very
Okay.
obvious, like it's like we all have a million questions, right? From the time we're little kids. Well, like, I mean, unless you've completely like killed your sense of, wonder and awe, we all have questions. And, like for me, there are things like Bigfoot and UFOs, and, like, I like those are fun. Those are fun questions.
Yes and yes.
Yeah. And, and we very rarely let ourselves wonder, who am I? In any other sense than like, well, like, what the hell did I do that for? Or, like, we really think we know who we are. And we think who we are is our thoughts about who we are. We're like, oh, I have this issue, and I have these traumas, and I have this, and I have that, and I have this, and I, me. And we say it like we know it's true. The hero's journey is about knowing that in your bones, in a non-conceptual way, where the nature that we are natures through us so thoroughly that we know it non-conceptually. One of my favorite philosophers likes to say, we didn't just parachute into this world. We are from it. We are of it. We are it. We are nature.
We are it.
And and you can call it God if you want, or whatever you want to call it. It acts through us as well. It is a part of us, literally, figuratively, metaphorically. And when we can start to open up to, what is this? Who am I in that context? Who am I in a non-conceptual way? How am I and the peace that passeth all understanding here in this place now. And we start to realize that the I that I think I am is a bunch of tendencies and thoughts and habits, but it doesn't
Programming.
exist at all in any way that we think it does. And that
I would agree
starts to
with that.
open up a
Yes.
lot of different opportunities.
I also think, Eric, there's something that comes with that. Like I've been trying to, I've failed massively with this puppy situation the last 3 weeks. But before that, I, s-
Damn it, Ryan.
Oh,
God.
I mean, I do love my
I'm gonna be
husband.
the
I
one.
do love
It's
my
gonna be
husband.
me. No, you
I
have to
do
live
love
with
my
your
husband.
husband. In 6 months, I'm gonna be taking blame for this damn dog. I know it.
no. That dog is exactly in the right place.
Where exactly this dog is perfectly placed in this house, and it brought so much love, and especially with the boys and my 12-year-old who's starting to become a preteen, it just softened his edges. It's perfectly placed, but I was trying to, and I have to get back to it every night, 15 minutes, just no podcast, no reading, no, and Liz and I are both in the situation with kids and 14 jobs and all the things. And I was like, can I just carve out 15 minutes? And I look up at the stars, and the thing that comes up for me every single night, because I think one of the best traits that we can have as human beings, top 3, one of them is humility. And what comes up for me every single night when I take the 15 minutes and I look up at the stars, and I'm not trying to learn, I'm not listening to something, I'm not, trying to work through problems, I'm just sitting there, is the wonder of how much I don't know and how many times I think I'm right, but I'm not, and that's not even the point. And there's an expansion and an openness that happens inside of that pocket where all of a sudden the world becomes whimsical and beautiful and full again. And then I try to carry that into the next morning until the next moment where I get to take that. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I do think that we all move through life and our egos need us to have the answers to everything. And the truth of the matter is like we often don't. And instead of saying, I'm not sure, I don't know, and letting that be a bad thing, let that be a beautiful thing. I don't have the answer to that yet. I don't know that yet. Or maybe I don't know that part of me yet, or I'm becoming that part of me. Let's see where I am in 6 months or a year or whatever. What you're inviting everyone to do is to just stay in the wonder and stay curious. And it really is such a soft place to be. And I think that's such an important thing, especially right now.
I would say it's not about staying there. It's about being able to begin again. It's about being able to go, oh,
yeah,
I lost it. Got so wrapped
I
up
lost
in.
it. By the way, I lose it every day.
Totally
and then I
lost
have
it.
to remind myself at the 15 minutes every night. I'm like, lost it. Here I am again. You're right.
That's right. That's right. And it's about being able, and there are 3 things I use to remind myself in that moment of realization when I've lost it. It's okay. Gentleness, begin again. I'm just going to begin again.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit, I got right here. Just going to, what is this? Just to sit with this. And then it is, we're all in this together. That compassion. I feel that sense of that. This isn't about me and my life and I screwed it up again and whatever. It's this, we all are like this. This is what it is to be a human on earth. I'm not doing it wrong. I'm just doing it. And we're all like this. And I know that. So I remind myself, okay, and I feel that felt sense of we're all in this together. And then I let the curiosity come in and I say, just this, just this. We're all in this together. Just this. What's here right now? Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's sadness. Maybe it's grief. Maybe it's that messy, drop kick that is just, whew. But I know that in that moment, I can be with just this. It isn't about what's coming and what happened, and I got to sort it all out. It's just, no, it's just this. And then from that, the next just this happens. And life keeps going, and then we forget, and then begin again. We're all in this together. Just
You
this.
do. You do forget.
That's
I
so compassionate.
the the two pieces of just, small wisdom I wrote in my son's graduation card. I'm sure most parents, it would have been, work hard, study hard, you know, get up for your 8 o'clock classes. I don't know, just in going and listening to all the graduation speeches, there were a lot of common threads through all of them.
Mm.
Some of which were very good. They were wonderful pieces of advice for 18-year-olds going off to school. But the main thing I focused on in my child's card, which I'm sure he like laughed because he knows me so well. We're very close, like you and your mom. And I just said, please remember to feel your feelings. Just
Yeah.
whatever it is, whenever they happen. I know it doesn't come naturally to 18-year-old boys, but if you'll just stop long enough to feel them,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you'll be in so
Mm-hmm.
much better shape than the next guy,
Mm-hmm.
in 15 years, in 5 years, in 2 years. Like, if you'll just give yourself that gift
Mm-hmm.
of
That's
saying,
right.
this hurts right now, ow. And I said, it doesn't matter if it's you accidentally flunk, an econ exam, or it's the first girl you really find yourself attached to that breaks your heart, or a friend disappoints you, all of the above can happen and hurt an 18-year-old. But I was like, just feel it, whatever it
Yep.
is. Take your time to sit in the emotion. And I think that's where so many caregivers get into trouble. It's because you're moving through
Yeah.
so many things at one time and life is happening so quickly. From one minute to the next, you're trying to juggle everything as small as like medication management to like changing your loved one to discerning what is this symptom and what is it, how serious should I
Yeah.
take it? And do we need the doctor or do we need the emergency room? Or is this progression or is this just a bad day? And your mind is always going. And so
Yep.
when you have these just like overtaking moments of sorrow or sadness for caregivers, there's not time to process.
Mm-hmm.
You really just, you're in it, you absorb it. And this is just an example. It's not, anything spellbinding or groundbreaking, but there was a moment I had with my mom one afternoon. They get to this place where everything becomes a tragedy, can be something so small. And in this day, it was her microwave plate in her kitchen was broken and she needed a new one and she needed it right then. And I got it for her. I replaced it. I brought it over and she just started weeping. And she said, I'll never forget it. And this was one of many times that she did this, but this one in particular, I remember having my youngest with me. He was probably 2 or 2.5, definitely like in a place where his grandmother crying would frighten him. And she just started weeping and she said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I'm this burden to you. I'm so sorry that I'm not the mother that you need. I'm so sorry, you know, I I can't do things for myself anymore. And she was grieving, herself.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it was so powerful to me, obviously, but instead of hugging her and crying with her and experiencing that moment, I just quickly brushed it off. I was like, it's okay, mom. Everybody helps their old parents. It's okay. You're not doing anything differently than anybody else. It's all right. This is okay. And also,
Yeah.
let's not cry right now because you might scare the baby. And looking back on that now, I grieve for myself in not allowing that moment to really just happen, because it was a beautiful moment. It was a moment where her disease could have pulled us together, and it could have drawn us closer, and it could have allowed me the opportunity to grieve with her. And instead, I couldn't. I couldn't let
That's
that
right.
in, because if I had, it would have swallowed me whole. That was my fear at the time.
Yeah.
And of course, that's not true. That's not true. That was
Yeah.
a lie that I told myself in that moment. I could have healed. A part of me could have healed in that moment had I allowed it to happen. And we as humans just are so resistant to feeling the pain. We'll do almost anything not to feel it. And it's
Yeah.
the key that unlocks it all. Sorry, Nikki,
Well,
you're like bawling over there.
I just like I yeah,
I
I
must have
am
made you
because I'm
cry
like
that part. I'm
I'm like
sorry.
because of well, I think the whole thing is because, you know, Eric just being Eric, but also like it is that hard. The human experience is it's hard. And I think we're so hard on ourselves and we're so hard on other people. And especially right now, you feel it exponentially in the world. And I just was sitting there thinking, like, as your friend, I wish I could have been there, you know, um, in Nashville to like hold you and then what your mom was feeling in that moment to be so aware that that was happening internally inside of her and there was nothing she could do about it. And I think so much of that is the caregiver's journey, but I think it's also just such a human journey that we're all on. And Erica, thank you for sharing that, Liz. How do we as people, right, in a world of social media, in a world where there are people that are actively trying to divide, they're literally paying warehouses full of bots to
To
go
divide us.
online. They say now up to 50% of people on some post that are getting in there and saying mean and rude and horrible things and being combative and divisive, 50% of them, they're saying up to, are being paid to do that. In a
mhm.
world, this is where we are right now.
Mm, I didn't
How
know
do
that.
we,
I didn't know
yeah,
that. That's really scary.
yeah, it's really scary. How do we try and be I mean, I know it begins with us and being compassionate to ourselves and like you said, like sitting with those moments when they come up and not asking why, but what is this? And beginning again and just being in that human experience, but also how do we help the world do that so that we stop seeing each other as somebody we have to fight and instead of somebody we have to figure out how to love.
Yeah.
How do we do
I
that?
it's a great question. It's a great question, and I don't I don't have any one simple answer for that. But I
It
I
doesn't
can
exist.
I can talk about it in the social media world because I'm very online in that way.
Yeah,
Um, and I can talk about it in how I personally deal with it because I a lot
great.
of that hate comes at me sometimes, and I certainly see it directed at other people. Um, so let's start with social media. I mean, it's very this this thing is made to disassociate with,
Mhm.
and that sense of the self that I was talking about earlier, that separate suffering sense of self, that ego that we think is us, feels like a master at times.
Mm,
And so what we want to do is sort of fight against it. Like, oh, I don't want this part. I want that part. And like, I want to, like, I want this and not that. And we're like fighting with ourselves because we feel like we're being ruled by our ideas about ourselves. But as we start to practice mindfulness and approaching life as a hero's journey, the hero's journey really is about seeing through that ego and allowing it to become a servant rather than a master. So that all of our ideas about ourselves are there, but we don't take them so damn seriously. And they don't define who we are. And they are certainly not who we are. And no one else can punch holes in our ego and make us feel a certain way because we're like, it's not even who I am, dude. And so it starts to give us a little bit more distance from us. So we're not just like instantly enraged when those people who are being paid are like trying to enrage us. Well, they know how to push everybody's buttons because we're all very much alike. But as soon as you start to see through your own ego, as soon as you start to see that you are not your tendencies and beliefs and habits and addictions, that those are just parts of what it is to be a human. They don't define you in any way. Then that allows a little bit of like, okay, yeah, do what you want. Like, sure, there's times, sometimes people will get me on my mode. They'll leave a comment and be like, oh, and I just, and then I'm like, delete, like a lot of times, or people will send me nastiest emails. I give away so many things for free and people complain about them bitterly. And if I'm having a bad day and you just sent me a long email complaining about the thing I give away for free, I'm going to spend a little bit of time to write one back and then I'm going to delete it because I don't need to
I do that
actually
too,
send it.
Eric. I do
My
it
best friend
literally.
in college used to, this was like before social media was even a thing. We were all still like the intraweb, in college. Like there was some sort of like server maybe that you could talk to people in your own college, but I'll never forget her ever for making this up. But everything was about the keyboard. And if we found somebody we didn't like or who was rude to us, she would just be like, Control Alt Delete. And she'd say it all the time, about like people that were unfortunate. And so now in my mind, like anytime, like there's no more Control Alt Delete. Well, there is, but like in the social media sense, that's what you've got to do to these people because they're just whack jobs. At the end of the day, they just haven't healed. So God bless them.
Well, and
I wish,
there's a financial incentive behind a lot of this stuff. And so, and we live in a world that prioritizes financial incentives right now. And
that's
so
disturbing. I truly did not know that. That's one of the most disturbing thoughts I think I've heard ever is the fact that like can't even trust people's own originality in their thinking now on Instagram. Like it's free speech is not free speech. That's great.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But that's okay. Again, this is what I'm saying is that when we see that, okay, if I'm going to scroll for a while, I know what I'm doing. I'm dissociating. I'm taking, like, I'm just taking, I could watch a movie or I could scroll or but I'm, like, just like when the movie is over, you have some lingering feelings and you spend some time thinking about it. A movie is probably a better use of your time because it's art and more time, things have gone into it. But also, some people like what they put on social media is art. I feel like a lot of my art winds up on social media, and so you kind of just have to take it for what it is. It is
Be careful who you follow.
Well,
Be
that's
careful
true too.
who you follow. Yes.
Or
stay away from the For You page.
Switch up your algorithm.
Or
I mean, what I like to do is like I'll find one thing I'm interested in, and then I'll go and find a whole bunch of other people who are like I'll search for that thing. Like lately, it's been small farms. People who have like a farm on 1 acre. I'm like fascinated by that. I'm like, tell me more about how you do that. And then the algorithm will just start sending you more of that. And so you get less of this thing that was enraging you and more of this thing that interests you. So, we can bring a little bit of proactivity to our algorithm. That's the social media side. How do we change the world? We don't. We change ourselves. That's all we can do.
Hoping for an answer for that one.
This is the right answer.
But it is the answer.
We change ourselves. And here's the thing. I talk about this a lot because when I was in college, me and my best friend, our motto was, most people are dicks. I just thought most people were stupid. And I was very much like anti everyone and everything, like a lot of college kids are. But I think about
Yet,
that a lot
those
now.
people are dicks.
I
There's the
think
name of
about
our
that.
new podcast, guys. That's
Most
it.
people are
dicks.
I letters out. Most people are dicks.
We'll give you top billing, Erik.
And what
By Erik Ireland and these two crazy ladies.
yeah, and I like experience has taught me that what I was saying was, I feel like a dick. I feel like a dick. Like we see in others what we see in ourselves. And if what we see is a world on fire and falling apart, we see that in ourselves. And that's when I say, yes, what is this? And when you see that fire inside yourself, let it burn. Let it burn away everything that you are not. Let it show you who you are. This is what the hero's journey does. It says, I will take the world around me and allow it to show me who I am. It is the map, and mindfulness is the compass. And that's how we come to a deep, non-conceptual understanding of who and what we are.
Not sure we could end on a better note than that. Wow.
You've actually left me speechless, which is a very difficult thing to do.
Only one other person has done that on our podcast, by the way. One person. And I've never left her speechless. Maybe today, actually. I've never made you cry that hard. That was impressive. I'm kind of proud of myself.
That made me really sad. It made me sad for your mom. It made me sad for you. I'm going to cry again.
Don't look at
Erik,
your text then, because I have 3 journal entries I found last night, and I sent them all.
I woke up to your text and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to look at this after, Erik.
The poetry
Erik,
reading.
Thank you so much for being with us. I want everyone to please go get your book, Awaken Your Myth. And I just want to end with this question. So the subtitle of your book, A Life of Peace and Purpose, right? Which are 2 words that a lot of people are searching for, but it also seems impossible, right? So what is your answer to someone who says, well, that sounds beautiful, and that is exactly what I need, but it's not my life and it feels completely unattainable? What do you say to that person? Yeah. And what if that person is me?
Sure. Yeah.
Joking.
No,
but
I would say I spent most of my life that way. I get it. And I did think they were something to attain. And what I realized is there's something that's here already.
You're inside.
And it takes the presence to be with all of it. If we can't be with the pain, we can't be with the peace. So as we start to use mindfulness as our compass, we realize that we can be with what's here. And then, like I was talking about earlier, the peace is always there in the mix. It's always there. It's the peace that passeth all understanding. It's not something you attain. It's not something you find. It's not something that comes and goes. Our experience of it does, but that doesn't mean that it does. Just like every night, the sun seems like it's gone, but it hasn't gone anywhere. We're just on the other side of the earth. And as far as purpose, a lot of people are like, oh, if I could only find my purpose, then I would finally be able to realize my actual self, and I would be authentic, and I would be this, but I don't even know what my purpose is. I spent so much of my life like that, like trying a million different things and regret, like filled with regret, because I don't have a purpose. And, and then people tell you, people love to tell you what your purpose should be. Well, that's the biggest bullshit ever. Nobody knows your purpose better than you. And here's where your purpose is. It's in your wake. You want to know where your purpose is? It's on the same wave that you are surfing. You are going to see that your life, when you live it with presence, shows you your purpose. It's like the peace. It's there. It's not something you attain. It's not something you create. It's surfing behind you on the same wave you are. And it's always right there. Just look over your shoulder. There's your purpose.
And it's always changing. That's the beautiful part about it, you know?
Sure.
In one moment and season in life, your purpose might be to be a specific thing to a specific person, you know? Maybe you're
Hmm.
here for one reason. I tell my husband all the time, he was created to just walk alongside me and keep me grounded and hold on to me so I don't float away. You know, he often
Yeah.
contemplates his own purpose in the world, and I've told him that many times.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's what's so beautiful about purpose is that it's constantly evolving, it's constantly changing, and you're constantly changing.
That's right.
And that's one of the most beautiful experiences of caregiving because if you can let it, if you can escape the bounds of the job, you know, you're getting your hands dirty job and the
Hmm.
sleep exhaustion and the cortisol and the stress and the worry and the pain and the grief and all of it. The moment
Hmm.
you can let that part just be, as you said,
Yeah.
that's when the purpose of the role just changes you. It changes who you are on a fundamental level, and you're never the same. You're
Yeah.
never the
It
same
reveals
in the
itself.
in the best way
Yeah.
possible.
Yep.
Erik, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
for all you do
you.
in the world. Thank you for being the kind of person who um
Cares.
has well, who's ridden their wave and keeps riding their wave and showing up honestly. And everybody check out Erik's book, Awaken Your Myth, and also listen to Erik's podcast, Listen to Sleep, and follow you on Instagram. What a delight. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having
Eric
me. It
will
was a real
be
pleasure.
back with us next week hosting our next guest. We'll let you know, Eric,
No, we're
the
gonna
timing
when
on
we start,
that.
most people are dicks.
Most
When we
people are
start,
dicks.
those people are dicks. I love it.
Yeah,
Guys.
actually,
Let's
got a
do
ring
it.
to it.
Nice ring to it. Eric, I'm in love with you. I just think you're
Yes.
wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, I
Thank
look
you.
forward to seeing you when you get here.
I'll be there. Get that laugh ready in the in not the way that sounds like.
And not the weird way.
I get it. I get it.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
You're the best.